Hello everybody and welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today is another top 5 stories list on my channel and I hope you enjoy. Doctor Octopus, considered by everyone to be one of Spider-Man's greatest enemies, and if you ask me, he is Spider-Man's greatest enemy. Today, July 10th, 2018, is Doctor Octopus's 55-year anniversary. In 55 years, he's had many appearances in comics, and today, I am listing the very best. Doc Ock is an amazing matchup to Spider-Man. In every battle they have together, something unique for Spidey will happen, which is why it was hard to make this list, because I could have easily made a top 10 Doctor Octopus stories, but it's better to stick to do top 5. I decided to look past great action scenes with Doctor Octopus and even some great Spider-Man stories, which just happen to include Doc Ock. Yep, that means no Master Planner storyline. That's a good Spider-Man comic, but not a great Doc Ock story. And like all of these lists, no issues with the Sinister Six or other supervillain groups are included. Doctor Octopus's power has never been underestimated, but his mind has been, and his emotions, and that is what we'll be looking at with this top 5 list. So let's get on with it. Number 5. Living Large, All My Pasts Remembered. The story in Amazing Spider-Man issue 428 and continued into Spider-Man Unlimited issue 18 showed the full origin story of Doctor Octopus before the lab incident. This was the second time it was ever told, and it is the best one. In the beginning, it is a crazy, unimaginative Spider-Man vs. Doctor Octopus fight, one of those battles that have you think, this reminds me of the old days. Doc Ock here definitely feels like he is the best human on the planet, very narcissistic, but also calm and calculating, but he is going all out on the city just to get the Spider-Man. After the fight, Doc Ock runs away and goes back to the lab of Dr. Cauldron Trainer. There, we see the supervillain Stunner and what has happened to her after an accident in the lab, thanks to Doc Ock. This is what Stunner used to look like. Who is Carolyn Trainer? This girl, the second Doc Ock. We then see Dr. Octopus's origin, how he was bullied in school and by his dad at home. His mom was his greatest supporter and his dad died when he was a freshman. But we see when Otto gets a girlfriend, his mom disapproved, so she made him break up with her. Later, when he saw his mom was dating, he yelled at her, giving her a heart attack, and that was 3 weeks before the metal arms became one with him. There's no other fight between him and Spider-Man, just a bunch of history and facts about Doctor Octopus. This is a great story, and especially important one for Doc Ock. We see the hate he has for Spider-Man now, and go through his thoughts on what he has done, like forming the Sinister Six. And during it, we see Peter Parker tell Mary Jane his thoughts on the events also. It is a great Doctor Octopus history and present recap and story, I'd say the best one since then. Number 4. The Arms of Doctor Octopus, and Men Shall Call Him Octopus. Published in a 2-part story over 2 annuals, part 2 happening in the very first Spectacular Spider-Man annual, this is a big return of Doctor Octopus. The last time Doctor Octopus was in comics, he and Spider-Man teamed up and Ock just left, so now who knows what Doctor Octopus will do. A thug working for Doc Ock has stolen his plans and Doc Ock is after him. Doc Ock goes crazy and is at his most dangerous. He's destroying buildings and crippling people just to find this guy called Jimbo. Eventually he finds Jimbo and Spider-Man saves him. This panel, just read it, it's pretty funny. Dr. Octopus escapes at the end of the first part, but not without a ripped tentacle, which always hurts him like if it was his real arm that was ripped off. This makes it seem like a serious psychological problem, especially with this story. Maybe Doc's crazier than previously thought. The next time we see Otto, he's getting his arms repaired, and the doctors confirm to us that it is all psychological. He shouldn't be in any pain at all. Doc Ock ripped off arm crawls back to him while Pete was studying it, so he uses a spider tracer to track Otto down. His mental control over his arms is amazing. It reminds me of issue 88 when the arms attack by themselves And just for battles, this is a really great Doc Ock story. It reminds me of issue 11, where Spider-Man first fought Doctor Octopus on a boat, and the thugs looked like they were the ones he had when he was the Master Planner in Amazing Spider-Man issue 31 through 33. I do like this small panel where Otto remembers Peter Parker's face, even in disguise, because of his relationship with his Aunt May. At the end, it appears that Doctor Octopus dies, gets stuck in a sinking ship, and his tentacle gets dragged down with him still attached. It is just a really, really great Doctor Octopus action fight, probably the best one, and if it truly was the last time we saw Doc Ock, he never would have been forgotten. Number 3. Creature Stirring. Spectacular Spider-Man issue 173. Doctor Octopus returns, and it's Christmas time. Everyone here knows how much I love Christmas. In fact, he even shows his emotional side during the holidays. In this issue, Doctor Octopus is back and getting ready to plan his biggest attack yet. Doc Ock is heading towards Forest Hills where Aunt May is having a Christmas party, but when Spider-Man arrives, his spider sense goes off. Doc Ock is there at the window watching his Aunt May celebrate Christmas. She's the only person ever who's been nice and caring to him. He decides to leave her alone. She's already having a good Christmas. He figures he would just be a burden. This issue sets up a 3-issue storyline with Doc Ock, but it could have been just a one-off issue. It's plenty good all on its own and gives us a complete story. The fight at the end is very fun to watch, and would love to see this happen in the movies. During the story, Otto emphasizes a lot for people to call him only Doctor Octopus, because that is who he is now to the world, how he views himself to everyone except one lady. It's revealed that that lady is May Parker, and at the end, even if you had no history, you could tell why. When Doc Ock stops fighting and leaves just to make things easier for May, May questions why Otto Octavius didn't come in to join the party. It's a funny, and in a tragic way, moment. It brings back memories from when all the times Doctor Octopus showed his vulnerable side to May Parker, like in issues 54, 131, and 158. Even Christmas can bring out the good in someone like Doc Ock. Spidey questions that I found Christmas Eve. There is no hero or villain. It's a great read, a great Doc Ock and Spider-Man story, and come on, it's Christmas. Number 2. A Time to Die. The final part to Web of Death, here, to me is the issue where we see the greatest of how Doc Ock pictures the relationship between him and Spider-Man. I view DC villains are better than Marvel, but here Doc Ock is better than most of the DC villains he's written as. In the story, Doctor Octopus is working all day and night, pushing himself the hardest, just to, what? Save Spider-Man's life. Yep, that's right, and of course, he succeeds. He has brought back his most hated adversary, because he can't go on without having Spider-Man in the world to stop him. In fact, at the end, he is so pleased to have saved Spider-Man's life, he turns himself in with no fuss and no mess. He gives off a weird parallel to Joker. He goes to jail to give Spider-Man time to recuperate for his return. He seems to love this hero-villain dynamic between the two, almost lives for it, and that's what I like the most about a supervillain who has this with the hero who stops them. On the other hand, I can see why people don't like this. Octopus hasn't really ever given this vibe to Spider-Man before, but I like it. He does act more crazy than usual though. Out of the 3 main Spidey villains, Venom, Doctor Octopus, and Green Goblin, Doc has been around the longest. Spider-Man, I think, has always had that relationship with Octavius also, in spades. The reason this is higher is the ending, where Kane, a messed up clone of Spider-Man's, attacks and kills Doctor Octopus, depriving that next glorious battle between the two of them, the last epic battle that could have just happened, the one Doctor Octopus lived for. There's barely any fighting here, but what happens is definitely historic. And now, for the greatest Doctor Octopus story ever told. Number 1. A Small Loss. The best Doctor Octopus story, surprise, wasn't in a Spider-Man comic, but in a Fantastic Four, issue 267. Let me explain, because my love for the Fantastic Four doesn't go this far. far to change a top 5 list. But wow, I feel most people who don't read comics, and if someone just wants to read more about Doctor Octopus, this is the greatest issue. I'm fully confident. Mr. Fantastic needs help with the subject of radioactivity and needs Otto Octavius. Mr. Fantastic immediately says no, that Doc Ock is a madman. It feels uncharacteristic for Mr. Fantastic, but I have a good little theory why he immediately puts this down. The reason he says no is because of all Doctor Octopus has done to Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Mr. Fantastic views Spidey as a bit of a son figure for him, almost like Tony Stark and Spider-Man in the movies, but in comics. Mr. Fantastic and Spider-Man bond over science and putting brains before brawn. He's almost taken Spidey away tens of times, and right now, he might lose his real unborn child. Doctor Octopus doesn't usually put brains before bronze and always goes after this kid Spider-Man, when he and Doc Ock would go perfectly toe-to-toe like in this issue. I view Mr. Fantastic as a person like a Marvel Superman. This is the line he says that I always remember. He will help anybody with anything, anytime. Not just a hero, but a really great guy. Maybe this is what Otto Octavius could have become also, if the accident didn't happen. I personally think that Doctor Octopus and Spider-Man are great together. Here though, it is a great, very fun and interesting story, even in the Marvel Universe. He decides to go see Doc Ock after Bruce Banner and Michael Morbius, aka the Incredible Hulk and Morbius the Living Vampire, convince him that bad guys and threats can do good. Surprisingly, when Mr. Fantastic and Otto's doctor, Dr. Jefferson, come see Otto, he's quiet and timid and nothing at all like the greatest Spider-Man villain, Doctor Octopus. Mr. Fantastic tells Otto what the situation is, that he needs Otto's help to save his unborn child. It's amazing what work Mr. Fantastic can do to help Otto. That's what doctors would have taken months. I don't think Mr. Fantastic did this before, because of the reasons I said earlier. Otto tears up at this and begins to help. He begs to. It's like he's just Otto Octavius, no trace of Doctor Octopus. No trace of the man he ever was. Right? When Doctor Octopus is traveling back, he sees a picture of Spider-Man, making him uneasy. His arms then escape and attack the two. Seeing the Spider-Man poster triggered Doctor Octopus because it's deeper than just thinking it, because Otto isn't doing anything at all. Just seeing a poster of Spider-Man has activated his arms and triggered his subconsciousness. Eventually, Otto remembers and goes all out on Mr. Fantastic. Reed Richards uses all his strength to hold Doctor Octopus's arms, and he tells Otto that he wasn't trying to hurt him, but get him to save an unborn child, and Otto accepts. So, for a Fantastic Four issue, it was really just about Mr. Fantastic dealing with Otto Octavius, and I loved it. At this time, Otto was mostly getting treatment in a medical ward, and it was helping him, but something inside him, probably because of the accident, has always made him resort back to the arms and back to evil, and it starts with his past, with Spider-Man. That's mostly when Doctor Octopus is evil also, when he has on his arms. This comic, to me, also has the closest Otto Octavius that resembles Doctor Octopus from Spider-Man 2. Firstly, he wants to use his brain only for good, not for the prizes. Then the arms turn him around and he commits crimes. The interesting thing is, it's all in his head, almost like Two-Face. This is the best Doctor Octopus story. It has him fighting, it has him in his best story period in his life, it has the psychosis of him explored into the deep. Even if you didn't know who Doctor Octopus was, this comic would make you want to know more. I can't wait to talk more about Doctor Octopus. There's a really great story with him and Spider-Man teaming up against a really fun and entertaining Spider-Man foe. I hope people see now that Doctor Octopus is much more than just a Spider-Man villain. He could have his own Spider-Man vs. Doctor Octopus movie story again. I'm glad Doctor Octopus became a superhero. I remember so many people hated Dan Slott for killing Spider-Man and everything with Doc Ock becoming superior Spider-Man, but I love it, and even more glad Doctor Octopus was able to go back to what he loved, science, and use it for the good of humanity, which is what he always wanted to use his talents for. So, those are my thoughts on Dr. Otto Octavius, one of Spider-Man's greatest enemies. I think eventually he will be back to standing on top of Green Goblin. I hope you all enjoyed, and please comment your thoughts down below, and please consider subscribing. Personally, I'm almost at my 100th video. That's crazy, and I will do 2 more top 5s before Spider-Man PS4. Please also hit subscribe. It would help me out a lot, and I really appreciate it. With all that said, bye guys, and have a good day.
You'll see the real me.